kind of match you like, Milos?
Yeah, I played well. When I figured it out, I gave myself a lot of opportunities and pretty smooth.
Is that the best you've hit your ground strokes this week? It just seemed just crisp, pretty much from beginning to end, crisp, clean.
Yeah, it is definitely better. I'm getting better each match. Just got to figure out my serve, and things are going well. I'm returning, getting myself in a lot of points, returning deep, and giving myself a lot of looks. And as the matches go on as well, I'm getting better, so that's a good sign.
I think the conditions here are pretty ideal for you. I mean, you get a lot of balance on your serve. Yeah, even though it's not the fastest court in the world.
Yeah, it's I like it also. It gives me time a little bit to organize my game and so forth. So there's maybe a little bit of a drawback on that same time. But I think I do a good job managing with it. It's sort of like a clay court that's a little bit easier to move on.
Milos, the knee tapping, there are a lot of questions about that. What exactly is it, and when did you start doing it?
It's just something I do to get my mind on the right track, to refocus. I've been doing it this entire year.
What are the origins?
Pardon?
What are the origins? How did you come up with it?
Just through conversation with my team, just something to make sure that I focus on the right things to simplify, like always, just to simplify what I need to do, and it sort of clears my mind.
She dropped the first set of her match. She was getting emotional, so she had to go into the stand, and she basically had a mental breakdown. She was crying and yelling, but she came on after that and said she felt much better. The average tennis fan doesn't know what you guys go through to win a tennis match. I'm just wondering if you can talk about the range of emotions that you guys go through in a single match, and if you can amplify it in a championship.
Yeah, it's you face a lot of things before you go out on court. Yeah, you can be confident and stuff, but there's a lot of uncertainty on how things are going to play out that day. So that uncertainty when things aren't going well can cause obviously insecurities, which make all the difficult things that are going on magnified and make them seem bigger than they really are. So you have these emotions. There's a lot of wins that you have where rather than joy, it feels like a good relief. And then there's a lot of wins that are the most amazing feeling. So you have a complete range of emotions that everybody and anybody can face. It's just how you deal with them that really makes a difference, that separates the three guys that are at the top from everybody else so far. But it's about always learning how to deal with it and get better with it.
Sorry, I was a little bit late, but have you talked about your next round yet against Rafa?
No, I haven't. I got to focus on myself. I got to organize my game. Last time I played him, I managed to do a better job than the previous few times. So I think I have a reference base, and just try to make the most of it and go out there and put forth, firstly, the right attitude, find my game, and then see the adjustments I need to make.
Can you also expand about the conditions? Because, I think some people talk about the court being slower and the ball bouncing. That seems to play to Rafa's hand, but also sometimes it helps a big server like you. Can you maybe talk about those conditions, how they'll come into play?
Yeah, it's like I said at the beginning, it's like playing on a clay court that's a little bit easier to move on. In that sense, there's no sliding around. The ground's more stable underneath you. It does bounce. It lets you, when you get ahead, I don't think you finish off the points as quickly, but it lets you sort of construct the points. It lets you find your game. It lets you have the time to organize what you're trying to do and then try to make the most of it.
Have you watched Rafa play here? Because unlike Clay, he does play closer to the baseline around here. I don't know if you've seen that or what kind of difference you think that might make.
Well, Rafa's at his most dangerous when he can get inside the baseline. I don't think it's really a difference on clay or hard courts. When he can get his forehand inside the baseline, that's when he's at his most dangerous. So you got to try to keep him back as much as you can.
Milos, what are your thoughts on Wayno Desnick and today, and I guess in general the sort of state of anti-doping in tennis?
Well, I think it's unfortunate what's happened with him. not necessarily unfortunate for him, just sort of the way he went about things and the whole story behind that. But there's a price that's to pay. It's like the prison of sport, you know. It's hard to find even a job or anything after that in that same field. So it's a price he's going to have to pay. It's unfortunate he felt he needed to do that, and it's unfair to obviously other competitors, but that's what it is. And I think tennis is at a great place with the protocol and the precautions that are taken in the sport, and it is very rare we have these cases on tour.
You think he's totally an outlier, or is there more that you think is going undetected?
No, I think what is there with it's if you participate in the protocol that we go through, you realize that it's very annoying, but it's a good kind of annoying because, you know, it weeds out the issues. It's not always pleasant the first time you think, hey, I want to get away for a day, and then it's like, okay, don't forget to change your whereabouts. You know, that's like literally the first thing, not, hey, what am I going to do there? That's literally the first thing that goes through your mind. But it's a very positive protocol that we face, and I'm happy about the way things are and the way things are dealt with, from at least my understanding.
Milos, just go back to the next match. How much do you enjoy playing somebody like Rafa?
I think it's the most exciting thing. I'm here because I want to break through and win at these big events, and everybody's aware that those are the kind of guys you have to get through. And I've consistently been able to put myself in this position where I'm facing the top guys in the big events, and I want to make a difference more than I have before. So it's really like a big challenge for me, a big test, and I'm ready to step up.
I'm sorry if I missed it at the beginning. Today's match, how good were you feeling on court? What was it? Everything was going pretty well.
Yeah, everything's going pretty well. I'm figured out my game match by match, and even as the match goes on, I figure out more and more. I'm playing well from the baseline. I'm organizing my game well. I just got to clean up a little bit my serve and put those kind of pieces together.
Last two. Yeah. Milos, is Rafa the most intense guy you've been across the net from?
He's the most intense at expressing it, but I think it's there's a lot of intensity in a lot of players like a Novak and Roger. I don't think they lack intensity by any means, but I think Rafa really imposes it within himself, but also putting it out there to be noticed by his opponents and to bring himself up as well.
Milos, obviously there's the anti-ITF, anti-doping policies, and then there's also obviously your national federations. I was just wondering how that breaks down for you and how it applies to you. Do you feel like the ITF tests you more than the Canadian anti-doping, vice versa, things like that?
I think the ITF does test me more because most of my testing that's happened from my national, let's say, federation or Olympic committee has happened when I've been in Canada. There has been instances outside of Canada and so forth, but most of it has happened within Canada, whereas I get tested many times throughout the year, so I think the ITF is on top of that, I would say, the most.
In terms of out-of-competition testing then, is that really the Canadian Federation carrying that ball, testing you like at home as opposed to ITF? Like, do you
No, it's, for example, last year at one point, did I play Eastbourne last year, or was it the year before? So the year before, sorry, I believe I got tested, like, I think it was 13 out of 16 weeks. Half out of competition, half during tournaments. So it's I don't necessarily always know who's asking it because they don't really always say. They say that it's the company there that's there to take the sample. So, but you go around the protocol, you do what you need, you provide your samples, and you be very professional about it, and you treat it as it is.
Last one, please. Milos, when you hit a serve 150 and the crowd gasps and all that, can you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 the temptation to try to hit at 151, or does it barely even register at this point?
No, I'm just happy to get a free point after that. The less I have to move, the better. Thank you.